one critical position out of 3 different Sicilians, where you get chance to sacrifice your piece and get winning position at just opening stage. Sounds very interesting, right? Welcome guys, as in today's lecture you are going to witness some cool tricks in the Sicilian-French variation. Let's start with how we can achieve our desired position out of 3 different Sicilians. So number 1, if you are an Open Sicilian player, then there are 2 ways black can enter into our tricky territory. Number 1, e6, knight to c3 and a6, this Sicilian-French variation which is very popular at all level of chess. Here my recommendation is you start with g3, allowing black to grab the space on the queen side. But the big time point is after bishop to g2, bishop to b7. Nope, we are not looking at the move d3 and a closed Sicilian setup, but rather we are playing like a more open Sicilian with our thematic break d4. After pawn takes and knight takes, black really don't want to play e5 now, as our knight can jump to the f5 square. So one of the frequent choice from the black is to play d6, getting the control of the e5 square and ready to play knight to f6. Whereupon we can castle, and after knight to f6, which has a clear threat of pushing the pawn on b4 and getting the e-pawn, white simply defended with rook to e1, where we have reached to the critical position. Okay, let me show you the second alternative. Black can start with the d6 structure, and after our knight to c3, knight f6 doesn't make sense here, as after e5, white enter into the carriage variation, which is quite annoying for the black player. So many educated Najdorf player here continue with a6, whereupon you guessed it, g3, b5, bishop to g2, bishop to b7, and now d4, our trademark break in the center, and after c takes d4, knight takes d4. It doesn't matter here whether black continue with e6 or knight to f6. Let's say e6, castle, knight to f6, simple threat, we defend with rook, and guess what? Yup, we reach to the exact same position. Last but not least, if you are a knight to c3 player here, then you can also reach to a desired position via this move order: e6, g3, a6, bishop to g2, b5, knight g to e2, bishop to b7. And now, rather than playing the move d3, I recommend you go ahead with d4, so that after c captures d4, knight captures d4, d6, castle, knight to f6, and rook to e1, no wonder we again reach to our critical position. Now, just for a moment, take a pause and look at the database. Well, in the majority of the cases, black has tried these 3 options, and I can't tell you, all of them are disaster. Yup, you heard it right. So let's see each by turn and find out how white can get straight away winning advantage against each of them. Number 1, bishop to e7, a very bad choice, and the simplest refutation start with e5, a double attack, so that after bishop takes g2, you indeed take the knight, keeping our double attack theme, and here by force black is losing a piece. So the best black can do over here is bishop takes f6, but after king takes g2, white clearly emerge with a piece up. The second move I want to consider is knight b to d7, and against this, no wonder our thematic break e5 works like a charm. After bishop captures g2 and e captures f6, it doesn't matter wherever this bishop run away, our next target is very obvious. Yup, you guessed it from the arrows. We want to sacrifice on e6 so that black position completely collapse at the opening stage. Well, black bishop has two good locations. Number one, let's say black player is a smart guy and he identified the threat, so he continued with bishop to h3. But I'm afraid this is not going to be enough, as white has this nice sequence, queen to h5 check, attacking the bishop. This poor bishop has nowhere to hide, as after bishop to f5, white can simply chop it off. So black has to go for the counter-attacking move, queen to f6. But then white can easily defend this knight with bishop to e3. And now black has the only move in this position, namely bishop to f5. Whereupon we deliver this nice surprising package. Just look at this, guys. Knight to d5. What a move. And the problem is black can't take this knight in the view of bishop to g5 and bye bye black sweetie. So that is right out of the equation. So that means black has to sadly retrieve the queen back to the d8 square, where white initiative continue on the board with this lovely attacking move bishop to g5. Well, you can't block with the pawn or the bishop, so the only logical response exists here is g6. And in fact, I reached to this position recently against a 2200 FIDE rated player, and you will be amazed how quickly game has been finished. I responded with queen to h4. My opponent moved the queen out, only to find the root shock. Knight takes f5, g takes f5, and now this decisive preparation move, rook takes e6, which shattered all the black hope. There is a force made, guys, and black cannot avoid, as after pawn takes e6 and the move queen to h5, we have a picturesque checkmate at just 19th move of the game. Now, if you look at the database, in the majority of the cases, bishop to b7 has been highestly played here, which completely ignore what white wants to do. And in fact, some strong players, including ex-World Championship challenger Nepomniachtchi, fall for this, where white has this dazzling sacrifice. Yup, you got it. Knight captures e6. Ready for the discover check, so black has to take it. Now you play this nice intermediate move. Pawn takes g7, bishop takes g7, and finally when white deliver this check, I think game is almost gone. It doesn't matter wherever the king goes. Our next target is very simple. Rook takes d6, taking the piece back with the interest, where black king is roaming all around the board. Nope, black can't play bishop to c8 in the view of simple threat, queen to d5, and the bye-bye rook in the corner. So that is right out of the equation. Probably the only accurate reply here is knight to e5, which has a threat of knight to f3. But all white has to know is just give this check so that it doesn't matter wherever the king goes. Our next move is capturing the queen, and if you count the end result, white has queen and 3 pawns against bishop and rook. But look at this pathetic rook in the corner. It will take ages to come out. And don't forget, white king is completely open. So considering all this fact, if you look at the chess engine analysis here, it gives white a clearly upper hand. Last but not least, what to do against the move queen to c7. Well, this time around, white has yet another dazzling sacrifice. Did you see it? Congratulations if you find the move. Knight to d5. What a move! And I think after this, however black plays, if you look at the evaluation, it's completely favoring the white. Well, there are a lot of variation including some decline lines. So I leave it for you to research further. However, I like to show you a model game which will highlight how problematic this variation is if black accept this piece. Okay, we are going to take back the pawn with check so that black can't play bishop to e7 as knight to f5 regain the piece back with interest. So that is right out of the equation. That means black has to move the king. And after the accurate response king to d8, white should continue with bishop to g5, pinning down the knight, and if required, give black some horrible pawn structure on the king side. Well, in the game, black avoid this by playing knight b to d7. After that, I really like white approach. Just look at this game, guys, as every move create important threats. White kickstart with knight to c6. This knight is way too dangerous, so black chop it off. After that, pawn takes c6. Well, funny enough, in the database, black has tried the move knight to e5 highestly here, but I think it's a blunder as white can simply take it as the d pawn is pinned. So nope, the accurate response is knight to c5, whereupon white deliver this initiative sequence. Bishop to e3. Threat is bishop captures c5. So black plays knight to e6. Now comes another nice move. a4. Threat is pawn captures b5. So black neutralized this with b4. Now comes the third important threat. a5. Getting the queen. And I'm sure after a long thought, black played the move rook to b8, which is in fact the only good reply available here. Where rather than grabbing the exchange, I really like white's play. He keeps generating the threat with queen to d3, attacking the weak pawn. Black plays queen to c8, defending it. Now comes bishop to b6 check. Kindly note that if king to e8, then c7 wins the exchange. So black is obliged to block the check with the knight. Now comes queen to c4. Well, I really like white's approach in this position. He has completely tied down black and forced him to play the only move, d5 here. But as soon as this happened, the game become open as white, rightly so, take this pawn so that the d file become open, and even black's desperado rook takes b6 doesn't save the game, as after pawn takes b6. Finally, when black took the bishop, the easiest move in the world, rook to d1, and queen to f5 has been played, only way to defend the knight. But then c7 check, king to c8, and although in the game white plays queen to c6, I think the most accurate response is queen captures a6, and after this there is a mate in 2, guys. Well, if you want, you can pause the video and try it by yourself. I'm showing you right now. King to d7, pawn promotion, queen check, king to d6, and now lovely pawn goes forward and deliver the checkmate. That's it guys. I hope you enjoy and learn this high profile tricks against the Sicilian French variation. You can literally use this line in the tournament practice as it can be occurred in 3 different Sicilian variations. Well, thank you for watching this video. Feel free to like, subscribe and comment, and I will see you in my next episode very soon. Bye and take care.